We have got a gentleman who delighted many sports followers over a long period of time.
And continues to do so.
And continues to
just
do
add
so.
that in case.
Excuse me. I met him recently at the Geelong Cricket Club at the end of season in March. He was there with a friend of the show, Ian Cover, and good morning, Ian, if you're listening. A gentleman who is very good at being someone else. Andrew Startin, welcome to the Two Blokes Chatting radio show.
Thanks very much, guys. Pleasure to be on. And look, I don't know how long you took to come up with the name of Two Blokes Chatting, but look, it's wonderful to be on. We've got Three Blokes Chatting now, and we're away.
Because part of the thing was we were doing a podcast, and when the radio show came along, the podcast was called Two Blokes Chatting. We thought, what are we going to call the radio show? The Two Blokes Chatting radio show seemed to work.
Okay. Hey, Andrew, you were about a lot. We saw your face all over the place. You made us laugh, chuckle, smile. Sometimes you may have even upset a few, but the reality was a delight. But let's go way back, your early days. Clearly a sports lover, but where did you grow up and where did all this nonsense that you do so well start?
Well, funnily enough, I think the nonsense started at home when I was watching TV programs, and I think Mum and Dad used to watch the ABC a fair bit, and I think Clive Robertson was on the ABC, might have been a different program, my memory serves me correct, and he was one of the first I used to impersonate at home, and then when I went to school I started impersonating the teachers.
That's a popular move as an ex-teacher.
Sorry?
I'm an ex-teacher. That would have been a popular move, I can tell you.
Oh, well, I don't know if you were like some of mine. They kicked me out of my classroom a fair bit.
Yeah, that probably would have happened.
Principal, and most of my report cards pretty much said that I spent far too much time trying to amuse my classmates than getting any schoolwork done.
Yep, I've got that one covered as well. Yep.
But then again, the ones who said, stop that start and that won't get you anywhere, you can go a bit of a na-na out of them now.
Well, there was no stop and starting. No stop and start. So if it wasn't at school, it was certainly, I got a lot of fun down at the football club in Benalla, where I was born and bred. And so I played football in the Ovens and Murray League there in the under 18s, and I used to get up on a Saturday night and I used to read the awards out and take the mickey out of our coaches. So that was, it was
another brave move.
Still got a game.
Tommy Rockcliffe country.
Yes, Jared Waite.
No, I was running out of, because none of those other played for Brisbane. You understand?
Bit one-eyed, my co-host Andrew, which you might pick up through the morning on that.
Yeah, right. Not a problem. Yeah, no, Tommy Rockcliffe. And
I also went to school with his dad, so you probably know Jeff.
Jeff, I do know Jeff.
Yeah, he went to school with me back at Donvale High School, loyal and true.
Right.
Now, Andrew, the thing about the voice that intrigues now, the school thing, that makes sense. You want to harass the teachers and the principal, but those that are the fair game for you, the ones that intrigue you, get the radar up. There's got to be something a little bit different, and I suppose most of the sporty ones have that. But over the journey, what is it that attracts you to wanting to take someone off?
I think it's a catch cry or a mannerism that they do that everyone would be familiar with. So if you're picking something up on a certain individual and you go, right, that's a bit of a link, that's a hook to that character, and then you would just exaggerate it. It just becomes almost a live caricature of that person.
Yeah, so the centimetre perfect is that type of hook, you mean?
Yeah, I mean, if you're saying lines from a certain character, Dennis is centimetre perfect, and Bruce is clever, or special. I mean, those two are the obvious ones with Bruce McAvaney, and everyone knows who you're doing as soon as you get really excited, and then you're starting to put those words in. That's what makes the character go, oh yeah, I know exactly who you're doing, and you don't want the person listening or watching you doing it to think that it has to be 100% accurate in a sense. It's just, you just got to make sure that they're familiar with who you're doing. That helps.
Yeah. Now, when I saw you, this part intrigues me. When you hear your own voice back, it sounds different. So when you're mimicking someone, how can you be sure that you've got it right, or is, based on what you just said there, near enough is sort of good enough?
Yeah, I think as I mentioned to you when I was chatting in Geelong that time a few months ago, Billy Birmingham was the one that I heard had said, it's more about the content as opposed to getting characters absolutely right. I mean, I obviously grew up listening to The 12th Man a lot, and, you know, he nails the majority of his characters, but some of them aren't anywhere near the mark, but they're still very funny because of his material, and that's what the key is to try and get, isn't it? It's trying to nail your material. That's first and foremost.
Yeah, and I tell you, there's a funny thing has happened recently when you go onto the old social media and there'll be flashbacks of cricket from the 1980s, and the commentators are the real commentators, but you think, shit, that sounds like Billy Birmingham.
Billy Birmingham, absolutely.
So he was better than I thought.
Yeah, I think the other thing too, Andrew, you made the observation about their mannerisms. I guess in the case of Billy Birmingham and some of the stuff that you no doubt do as well, if it's only the audio and you can't use the physical mannerisms, I guess that just means the voice and the content needs to be even better.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. Yeah, the voice, the content, definitely those hooks, as I said before, you just have to make sure that you're always weaving those in as much as you possibly can, so that listener is placing themselves knowing, yeah, that's exactly right, that's how that person would talk and that's how they would say it. And then you go to another degree as well, and you make it a little bit silly. You take those sayings that they use and you take it out of the normal context and put it in another context, and that can give it some more comedic effect as well.
The other thing I was going to say earlier, we saw you and loved you for a long period of time. Haven't seen much of you lately. Did the world just get really busy and chaotic for you for a while there?
I've had a topsy-turvy journey in life. There's no doubt about that. But I'm not on my Pat Malone there. That's for sure. But I think in terms of having done what I've done for so long, over 20 years of doing it on the circuit, the world changed a little bit in terms of what was acceptable and what wasn't from doing gigs. So I found it a very difficult period to what I was doing on stage, that whether it was going to be accepted or not, pushing boundaries with some of my material with my characters. I found that a little bit tricky to navigate up on stage, and I found that very hard to know and have creative freedom to know what I could or couldn't do. I've got no real body governing me in that sense. You've sort of got to work it out yourself on the fly up there. You're not really being told what you can and can't say. You get a bit of feedback, of course, from organisers if it doesn't go too well. You might be given a don't come Monday.
Yeah, and you mentioned one of those, and you may or may not choose to elaborate later, but you probably have entertained the average punter, but occasionally crossed the line maybe with the people that you were imitating?
Well, I've got one story about Mike Shen. And Mike wasn't a massive fan of my impersonation of him. He thought I went too far, that I made him look a little bit silly, and that he never really moved his head from side to side as much as I did it. I sort of made him look a little bit goofy, a bit like a goof. And
he does that pretty well himself.
He does. But he sort of, it's quite funny that Mike got a little bit sensitive about people who would get stuck into him, yet he made a career out of it.
That's right.
But no, I did a function at the Lobster Cave, and I was up doing impersonations, and Mike was actually in the front row, and I was going through my different characters, and I got to a stage where I had to do Mike Shen. And I said, I don't have any glasses. Can I borrow some glasses, anybody? And I said, there's some in the front row. Can I borrow yours? I grabbed these glasses, and I started to do the impersonation, and people were laughing in the audience, knowing Mike was in the front row, and he grabbed the microphone and maybe used a 2-letter word in no uncertain
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Just when he went at the Lobster Cave on Thursday night. Did you ever happen on Thursday night at the Lobster Cave?
No, I did not. No, what happened?
Someone got in their car afterwards and mistook which one the brake was and which one the accelerator was, and drove into the front through the front window into the restaurant.
Now, there's a disgruntled customer.
Well, I hope they didn't hit the tank and they had fresh seafood.
Apparently, it was Mike Sheehan looking for you. No, that's not true. So, I guess, I was going to ask, there'd be some people who would be flattered by the attention and what do they say, flattery is imitation the best form of flattery or something?
Yeah.
And there would be some that are grumpy. Are there people who enjoy the notoriety of being imitated by you?
Oh, I don't know about the notoriety, but certainly we're happy to play along with it and weren't affected by it at all, weren't precious by it. And Sam Newman was a prime example of that. I'd done a couple of functions with him in Geelong a few times. I think Dennis Cometti, one of my favourite ever moments with Dennis Cometti. In fact, one of your listeners, Ian Chover, a good friend of mine, we were doing a function, the E.J. Whitten Foundation at the Hilton one year, and it was teed up with Dennis and I backstage that I was going to be on stage doing Dennis Cometti, and at the appropriate time on a cue word, he would burst onto stage and be a little bit disgruntled that I was, doing the impersonation of him, and I was to play to the crowd like I didn't know that was happening. And Dennis was just magnificent. He came on stage and handed me papers and said, "That's from my lawyers." He was magnificent, Dennis. He got it, loved it, happy to play up with it, and the audience were there looking up on stage, going, "Oh my God, is this real? Are they actually? Has this been planned?" They had no idea. It was just a magnificent moment. It's one of my favourite moments of doing it, actually, with Dennis coming up on stage and kicking me off stage and then getting into his routine.
Dennis doing Dennis.
One of the things that, and it's funny you say, it's exactly where I was going to go down the path of. I think some of the people who are doing the best impersonations of commentators at the moment are themselves. So Brian Taylor's running around doing Brian Taylor, if you will, and they're taking that to a new level, particularly with social media, where we now have, for reasons I can't put my finger on, we have commentators being filmed and then shared during the week. Have a look at the reaction to this mark or whatever. Them playing up to it, is that doing you out of a job, or is it making it easier for you?
Oh, well, I haven't done anything for about 5 or 6 years, so...
So, yes, it is putting you out of a job.
It might create a comeback opportunity for you, Starto.
Hasn't put me, but I know where you're going. I know what you're saying with that. It is become everything's like the camera's on them at all times, isn't it? So it's almost like they do. Used to be that whole heard and not seen, and that's what it was. It was more about the accuracy of the commentary, and now it's a little bit more colourful. But if I was to be doing BT, like you're talking about hooks before with commentators, he's got some sayings that he goes with it, but whether it's goodness gracious me or boy oh boy wowee, like it's got his lines that he always uses. So you go with those as well. But a lot of commentators floating around. I can't get BT's voice. I could never get it accurate enough to be comfortable to know that was a good representation of his voice. But, yeah.
Well, next time you're looking for a hook for Brian Taylor, what you should do is just deliberately call players by their wrong name. Because last night when Caleb Daniel got the ball on the wing and he called him Marcus Bontempelli, I thought to myself, mate, you want it. It's time. Give it away.
Oh, that's an easy mistake. Height, yeah.
At least you didn't call him Nick Dacos. At least you got the right side.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Oh, dear me. Stardo, do you say you haven't been doing it for a while? Do you miss it, and is there any likelihood there's going to be a comeback?
Oh, no, I don't think there'd be a comeback. Look, you never say never to anything. Look, if something came along that sort of piqued your fancy, you'd have a look at it. But no, I do miss it from time to time. Yeah, there were some functions you did that were just outstanding. I mean, I did doing work with Coves from the Could Have Been Champions. He's a good mate, and always great fun, and we even if the audience didn't enjoy what we were doing, Coves and I certainly did if we were doing a Q&A.
Yeah.
It's never been a problem for us. We've always enjoyed. We don't care about our audience. You understand?
I think one of the more memorable occasions we've had in the 198 shows we've done starts is when Cove was in the studio with us for about an hour. It was absolutely hilarious. He's a very funny man. I can understand how you two would get along well working together on stage, and that's a really important thing. One thing he did say, and it separates someone who can imitate, but you've got to be able to have the content, and I think that was one of the really good parts about you. It wasn't just doing the voice. You made the voice come to life and be very, very funny in a slightly unusual way, but enough of a contact to make you think that the real people are standing there talking to us. And I loved it, and I congratulate you. It's a great skill. I'd love to see more of you. I hope you do cross at some stage and come back into it, because it's really good stuff. And the day I saw you at the Capri in North Geelong, going through the Gary Ayres breakfast menu, I think is probably one of the funniest things I've ever seen. Well, certainly the funniest thing I saw you do, but it come out of left field. It had no contextual relationship with him having breakfast, but it was Gary Ayres being Gary Ayres.
Yeah, look, I can't... I did Gary in front of Gary once, which was rather weird, and I was...
And bold.
I was scared. That was at Marby Park Footy Club, Maribyrnong Park, and it was grand final week, and the guest speakers were myself, Dermot Brereton and Gary Ayres. I remember talking to Dermy before I got up on stage to do it, and I said, I'm not going to do Gary Ayres. And he said, you can't. He's here. Everyone's here. They're going to absolutely love it. Don't worry about Ayres. I'll sort him out. And then I got up on stage and did Ayres. He absolutely petrified, and he was there laughing and was okay with it. So
I've had the very good fortune to interview Gary a few times on VFL games. He is the nicest man you will ever meet. He is just a ripping guy and has done so much for community football that just goes completely unreported.
Yeah.
Just a trivia question. Who was the most famous person ever to play for Maribyrnong Park?
Oh, gee whiz, good question.
Now, there's a bit of a hint. Rob told you a bit one-eyed.
He's from Brisbane.
The great Kevin Murray.
Really?
Yeah, when he retired from Sandringham in 76 or thereabouts. And I think I'm right. So it was either South Morang or Maribyrnong Park, because he refused to play for a club that didn't play in a Fitzroy jumper. And so they changed their jumpers to get him. I can't remember which one it was.
Oh, gee.
He would have been 55 then.
Oh, young fella for him.
59 Brownlow medalist.
He was the oldest at the time. I can remember the second last vote. Surprise, surprise. Fancy the AFL doing a VFL in those days. Trivia question: who was the player who had the last votes in the 1969 Brownlow? Wayne Walsh of Richmond.
Well, there you go.
He's right, eh?
Sorry, not that I'm a bit fanatical about the great man.
No, I think you might be.
I reckon the one thing that would annoy me most if I were you, I reckon you've got people coming up and going, hey, Andrew, hey, listen to my Bruce McAvaney, or listen to my Brian Taylor. Does that happen a bit?
No, I'll tell you what used to happen at functions. I had a routine I used to do as Bruce, where, because he's obviously big on his stats and he knew everything to do with sport, I used to rattle off all the Brownlow medalists from 1959 all the way through. It used to go for about 5 minutes, obviously, and I just used to go hammer and tongs, and I was well researched with it, and I had them all correct, and I'd stop on a few certain years, and I'd weave in how many votes a few of the players got from certain years, and you'd always, without fail, someone would come up afterwards and tell me I'd got a year wrong. Every year. Another beer. Yeah.
Yeah, no. And the encouragement that they would have got from the alcoholic intake previous to that, I would have thought would help.
Oh, look, possibly there might have been a couple of occasions where I might have had a bit of assistance as well.
A little bit over-refreshed.
A little over-refreshed? Not too often. I was fairly professional in that sense. That didn't happen very often, I'll be honest. You've got to be on top of it. If you can't do that sort of stuff if you're fair dinkum, I don't think.
No, but if you're in an intimate audience, though, and they're responding really well, you're probably more inclined to push the boundaries a bit. And as you said earlier in our chat, sometimes that got you into a bit of trouble.
Yeah. Look, one function I did for Tennis Victoria, and I don't know how long ago this might have been. It was probably about 7 or 8 years ago now. But I just remember being up on stage, actually with Cobes. He was the MC, and he was just asking me about, as Sam Newman, how I enjoyed did I watch any of the tennis? Did I get involved in the tennis, and was I enjoying watching it? And as Sam, I sort of made a bit of a comment about the Williams sisters, and I called them another name. And one person took offence to it in the crowd, not on the day. They saw it fit to ring up Tennis Australia and make a complaint about it. I was booked to speak with Tennis Victoria again a few days later, and they rang me up and said, yeah, you won't be required. But they handled it really well. I was really impressed with the way Tennis Victoria dealt with it and the way they spoke to me and taking action on something. But it was a bit of a signal to me that if I couldn't get up on stage doing an impersonation of someone else and people not seeing that for what it is, the writing was pretty much on the wall at that stage. It makes it very difficult to know what you can and can't get away with.
In hindsight, though, you credit them with the way they conducted themselves. It seemed more logical to me that what they might have said was, Andrew, you got a gig on Monday. That reference you made on Friday, we probably won't go there. Just have a think about that. I would have thought that'd be the logical way to handle it, rather than pulling the plug on you.
Well, probably more so the optics of it to say that they're still using me, given there was, I mean, I don't know. I think there was only one person, from my knowledge, that made the complaint. I think it's probably just more the optics of having hired me for it, as opposed to what I would have gone with that next function. But yeah, I mean, I sort of copped that on the chin. That was okay by me. But it was a bit of a, as I said, a bit of a signal for things that were probably going to come to an end.
Yeah. No, it is very sad.
Well, speaking of things that have come to an end, sadly, our time has come to an end.
I haven't even got Gary Ayre's breakfast menu.
No, you'll have to get that off air, I reckon. Andrew, thanks for being part of this circus and being a bloke chatting. We've enjoyed your company immensely, and good luck with whatever you're up to these days.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks very much, guys. We could have gone on to some extra time, but it's come to an end.
Well,
thanks for having me on.
Well, I must say, we chatted off air and I said, we'll chat a bit about you and we'll do some, but it just shows how interesting your life and what you have done is, because we've gobbled up an enormous chunk of time and never heard too much. So thank you for that. Congratulations again on what you've done, and I hope we get to see you do some more in the future.
No, I appreciate you having me on. Thanks very much, guys.
Thanks, Andrew. Andrew Startin there. Comedian, impersonator.
He's a very...
Bendigo boy. I'll try again. Benalla boy.
Yeah. Very, very funny, and there's probably lots of people who associated with sport in Geelong would have seen him either at a function or on the television or heard him on the radio. He was very, very high quality. Well, is very high quality. There's no doubt about it, and I hope we hear more of him.
Absolutely.